Hey, hello.
Good evening.
How's the audio? Everything's okay?
Everything good?
Okay, so this is your first interview today, or you gonna do a little third? Okay. So let's start with the fact that Before We All Die is your first album in 19 years. So what happened in 2013 that you made that you decide to put Clawfinger on hold?
We took a lunch break. um, yes, we did decide to put an end to Clawfinger. It was a bad decision, and it didn't last very long. I think we had 1 year when we didn't play, and then we got an offer from a festival in Switzerland, and it was a nice festival, and they paid well, and Motorhead were playing, and some other big bands, and we thought, we can do one gig. It's up to us to decide if we want to play or not play, and nobody else can say that it's good or bad. So we did that one gig, and then I think we realized that we missed it, and we slowly started doing festivals again. I think also when people saw that we were playing, they realized that maybe Clawfinger haven't quit. So then we started getting a few more festivals, and then it became a few more the summer after that. And then Deaf Dumb Blind turned 25, and we did a tour on the Deaf Dumb Blind album. And then we did release a single, and then we did a few more festivals. And I think we sort of slowly got back into, I guess we slowly sort of fell in love with it again. And the reason for us, I don't know, when you've done something for a long time, when you've released 7 albums, you've toured all those albums, you've done the recordings, you've been in the business for almost 20 years. I think it's easy to get a bit tired. Um, and also the music business was changing, so people were downloading and streaming instead of buying music. We had kids, most of us. Um, we ran out of money in 2008, so we had to find regular jobs, which just meant we had less time. And then, families come and go and relationships end and start. And I think I guess we just needed to live like normal life for a while.
So what happened that because at first Clawfinger was your full-time job, you made money off Clawfinger. So what happened that suddenly like the money stopped?
Downloading, streaming. Um, I guess we were a bit less popular than we had been previously, so there was less money coming in. We were always pretty smart with our money, so when we got paid well for something, or when we got a big advance from a record company, we put that money into the bank, and we took out very low salaries. And I think because of that, we could live from the music for extra long. We don't have expensive hobbies. We don't do loads of drugs. We don't, we're we're quite I don't know if normal is the right word, but we're we're pretty down to earth guys. So we don't have like mansions or any of that crap. So therefore our money lasted a bit longer. But in the end, even that money ends and runs out. Um, it was just different times in the music business, and therefore not as much money coming in. which meant we had to do what everyone does all the time, and that is find work so you can pay your bills and survive.
And during this period of less activity, there were also individual singles like "Save Your Soul," "Steer You Down,"
Yeah,
"Environmental Patience." Were there plans for a full album at that time?
we did not have any plans. Not even when we started writing songs again were we planning an album. We did that simply because we missed it, I guess, and started doing it again. Um, and it wasn't until sometime in, I think, late 2022 or early 23 that we had a Zoom meeting with our manager. And he said, "Guys, I know that you have like 6, 7 songs now. Would you maybe consider writing 3 more so that you could maybe release an album before we all die?" And we kind of laughed. It's like, because it had been so many years and we're all getting older. So we better hurry up if we want to release another album before we all die. And then we said, hang on, that's a good name for an album. So then we said, okay, we'll try it. So we wrote 3 more songs, put 2 of the old singles on there, and then Perception or Raining Phoenix Music got in touch and were interested in releasing an album. So we said, okay, cool, let's release an album. So there really was no master plan. There was no big, fantastic idea behind it. We just had written some songs over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it just felt like the right time. Our kids are grown up now. We're in a good place. We're having more fun than ever. We've been playing a lot of festivals, and we're really enjoying it. So we just thought, why not?
Uh, people, 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 People from Raining Phoenix Music were involved in Nuclear Blast, so like the previous label that CLAWFINGER
Yeah,
was involved. So was it also a factor?
I have no idea. I honestly do not know. Maybe, but when we signed with Raining Phoenix, we no longer had a record deal. The record deal we had with Nuclear Blast was way, way, way in the past. I don't know. Maybe some of the same people still like us. I honestly do not know if there is a connection. I mean, I know that there are people who used to work in Nuclear Blast, but I don't know if that really means that there's a connection with us. It's if that's the case, it's nothing they told us.
Of course, media likes the words reunite, so everyone is writing that CLAWFINGER is coming back, is reunited again. But over the years, you kept in touch. You played concerts. You wrote new material. Can we even say that CLAWFINGER was dead?
Yeah, for that one year I told you about, yes. Apart from that, no. I mean, we haven't been super active, but we've stayed in touch. And like I told you, we slowly started writing songs again. Um, the difference now is that there's no pressure from a record. I mean, now we have a record company, but when we started writing songs, it was just because we missed it. Um, but no, I mean, last summer we played 14 festivals. The summer before that, I think it was like 8 or 9. We already have 8 booked for next summer. So we've always, I mean, somehow we've always kept the clawfinger flame alive. Maybe it's been a small flame. Sometimes it's been a bit bigger. But apart from that one year, we never really stopped.
And you
And I
mentioned
think maybe, I think maybe that's,
You mentioned before the tour, anniversary tour for Deaf, Dumb, Blind, and what happened with the idea? Because you announced that you're gonna record a version with guest artists,
yeah,
but we didn't have this release. But we have Deafer, Dumber, Blinder, but it was something completely different. So what happened
yeah,
with this material?
yeah. We didn't record that much. I know that we started re-recording some of the songs, but this also sort of happened at the same time as everything was coming to an end. You know, where we had no more money. The studio that we shared with Meshuggah, we left that studio. We got jobs and we had, you know, we had kids and all that stuff. It just sort of didn't happen. And to be honest, I'm quite happy it didn't happen because I like the idea of Deaf Dumb Blind being what it is because it was released in '93. You know, it's like a diary from '93, and I don't. I was never the biggest fan of re-recording. Some of the other guys in the band thought it was a better idea. I I cannot name one single album with one single artist I love where I have liked the re-recording more than the original version because you know it has its place in time and its place in history for what it was when it was released. So there is not enough material for that to ever become anything. So it's not something anyone's ever going to hear.
And like you said before, the music industry changed over the past 19 years. You even said when you announced the new album that most people don't know what an album is anymore. So
Yeah,
how do you feel about these changes in the music market over the years? The death of physical media, cheap music on Spotify, the focus on singles instead of albums.
yeah. I mean, we're still in a band. We're still playing. We still love it. We still have a great time. But we can't expect things to be like they were 33 years ago. That would just be stupid, you know. So you kind of just have to accept it. It doesn't mean I like everything about it, but of course, as someone in the band, I want to do what I can to make our music seen and heard. And if that means that we need to release more singles than we would have done in the past, then let's do that and see if it works and see if it helps, you know. Uh, do I find it sad that the physical format has sort of gone lost? Yes, because I grew up buying LPs, you know, and reading the booklets and looking at the pictures. Um, but at the same time, you know, you can't stop the technical evolution. It's going to happen regardless. So you might as well try and be smart about it and use it as best you can to help you. You know, it's not as sexy as an LP. You know, it's not as cool as having a record collection. But I say that as someone who is old. Young people today don't care because all they know is streaming and TikToks and quick fixes and you know they have shorter attention spans and for them it's normal.
And you recently post an article from Bravo magazine in your Facebook page. Also,
Yeah,
during the past 19 years, Bravo
yeah,
died, MTV died, Viva
yeah.
died. So was it something to be expected?
I mean, if things are shit, they deserve to die. Bravo was never really anything much more than shit, to be honest. That's just a funny time capsule because we were not in Bravo very often. So it's quite funny that, the few times we were there, MTV turned shit years and 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 years ago. So there's nothing to miss because it went from being a music channel to being a reality TV channel. And who the fuck wants to see that shit? Um, you know, usually the good things have comebacks. I mean, the physical format is slowly making a comeback. And I think that's because people like to collect things and they want to have like a treasure or, things that they can show. This is what I love. This is my favorite band. It's not as cool going, this is my favorite band on your phone. It's not the same thing. So I think that, the good things survive. I don't think LPs are ever going to be as big again as they used to be, but I definitely think it's going to grow slowly. I'm not really answering your question. uh, it is what it is, and I can still listen to my LPs if I want to, but I also have to accept the fact that that is not the way it's done in 2026.
And the new album was announced by the single Scam, which has very clear political overtones. And you have been previously critical, for example, of George W. Bush. So doesn't he look like an angel compared to the Donald Trump?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe it's just that some of them are a bit smarter about their corruptness and their morals. But to answer your question, yes, I guess so. Um, at the same time, I think anyone so high up in those power positions is probably hiding a lot more than any of us know about. And there is probably a lot of bad things going on, even with Bush or with Obama or whichever president you choose. They're still starting wars and making decisions that are based on their own economical well-being. And when you're doing that, you are not caring about people first. And then automatically you do not deserve to be in the position you're in because they're supposed to be there for the people.
And later we had the singles Ball and Chain and the Big Brother, and the latter has an interesting history because it began to take shape in 2007. So how has this composition changed over the years?
Well, I mean, what happened was I wrote that lyric for the Life Will Kill You album, but the song I wrote that lyric for became something else instead. Um, and I guess I was the only one who really, really liked that lyrical idea back then. So I decided to save it because it was one of the lyrics I've written that I like a lot. And I'm quite self-critical. Um, so when I feel that way about one of my own lyrics, then it becomes important to keep it stored somewhere and bring it out when the right time comes. And I hope that would happen. I didn't know it would happen. But when I reminded the other guys in the band of that lyric, we even recorded those lyrics on that old song. When I played them the old song, they were like, damn, these are some good lyrics. Why didn't we use them? So we just created new music around the already existing lyrics. And I mean, nothing has really changed since 2007 when it comes to the phenomenon Big Brother. Possibly the surveillance aspect, the fact that we are being controlled from everywhere is even more now. Like, you know, these things, everything I say and everything I Google, that information is being stored somewhere and being used for something by Big Brother, you know. Maybe that has become more extreme now than what it was in 2007, but it was pretty bad already in 2007.
And in your songs, you talk about the current world, a world that is clearly broken. And what are a fucking disgrace, ball and chain linked together about? Because the lyrics are definitely more personal in these songs.
Um, a fucking disgrace was a lyric and a song I wrote during the pandemic. Um, you probably don't want to remember the pandemic, but there was one, and a lot of us had a pretty shit time. You know, being quarantined and not being able to live a normal life. So I went through a phase, just like a lot of people, where I felt kind of useless and meaningless, and when you have that time and you can't do what you normally do, you start thinking a lot and you start wondering what the fucking meaning of everything is, you know. So that is a lyric I wrote on one of my shit days, and it's a song I wrote quite quickly. And at the time, I had just bought Logic for my home studio, and I recorded a version of it that was a lot more bluesy. And I sent this idea to Board, our guitar player, just because I wanted to know what he thought about it. And the first thing he asked me was, is this a Clawfinger song or is it a Zach song? And I just said, I don't know. What's the difference? Because I've spent so many years in Clawfinger that everything I do kind of is Clawfinger, because I've never tried to be something I'm not. It's always just been me as the person in Clawfinger. So what happened is it slowly what happened is it slowly turned into a Clawfinger song instead, which meant we put a bit more heavy guitars on it, but it still has that sort of bass, blues bass somehow. It's just a personal song about feeling shit and wondering if I'm good for anything. You know, and I think most of us have those moments in time or those days or those weeks where we feel fucking useless. And, you know, I'm no different than anyone else. I have those days as well, even though I'm in a successful rock band.
Yeah, you wrote when you announced the album, "We're not here to give you answers."
No,
So what is Clawfinger's role in this modern
I mean,
society?
we've never had any more answers than anyone else. The only difference is we have a platform because we're in a band, which means we can say things and there's a bigger chance that people will hear it. And for me personally, the way I write comes from growing up with the music I've always loved, growing up with the music I heard as a kid, you know, which has mostly been protest music from the 60s and 70s and punk music and music that is trying to say something. So for me, that has always been the natural way of doing it. It's not, you know, it's not something, it's not contrived. It's not something I had to try and understand how to do. It's just the way I write. And sometimes it's more, I guess, political, and sometimes it's more personal. Um, I just like to try and say stuff that means something. You know, we're not a Mötley Crüe party band. You know, we've never been that kind of band. So it's just the way we are, you know.
And what can you say about a Perfect Day song? Because it is a song that stands out musically in this
Yeah.
new album.
I mean, we've always liked to have like one or two songs per album that are a bit different from the rest of them. We've always kind of done that. And it's mostly just because it's fun to sort of break out of what you always do and also break out of what maybe people expect you to do. But more than anything, it's about having a bit of fun and trying something different. And with that song, it's this whole idea that we're kind of obsessed with painting this picture of us having like perfect lives, and especially on like Instagram and Facebook and these social media platforms, everyone's posting pictures of holidays and plates of perfect food and big families, and everything's so fucking lovey-dovey all the time. And I'm sorry, but for most people, reality isn't like that. Sure, we all have holidays and we have good times, but there's another side to it as well. You know, it's not that simple. And it was just fun to play around with that idea. And then, of course, we had to ruin everything at the end and destroy it and create the opposite. And I guess the reality is somewhere in between those two, because you can have a great holiday and then you go back to your normal, boring 9 to 5 job. And then you have a weekend and you do something fun. And then you have your work week. And then some tragedy happens in the family and everything's shit. And then you have a good time. And that's, it's just the way life works. So it was just playing around with the idea of those two extremes. And it was fun to do it with a song that sounds really like, it's like a hip hop sort of a cute vibe. And it's always fun to destroy cute vibes.
And since our time is running out, I want to ask one more thing because a few years ago I interviewed Liv from Liv Scene about the Kali Yuga album, and you have a collaboration song on it. And of course, I asked her about the collaboration, but I recently came across a post about the live performance of your song. So have you
Right?
finally learned to dress like a rock star?
That was so funny. I don't think this guy, I think he thought that I was in the band or something, and everyone else was dressed up, and I think it was Halloween. So they had even more makeup on than they usually have. Um, but that was hilarious. We have never been about wearing the right clothes or trying to look cool or, I mean, I like my clothing, but I don't really care that much. I like stuff that's comfortable. If it has a cool print or something, then fine. But uh, maybe when I was younger, but not even then. We never really fit into like the fashion sense of things. Maybe at the very beginning, because when we came, the fashion was anti-fashion. It was like grunge and alternative rock. So everyone had like flannel shirts and broken jeans, and it was because no one could be bothered to care about trying to look like rock stars. Maybe for a short period of time there, we wore the right things, but that was just a coincidence. No, I do not know how to dress like a rock star, and I do not care.
And this is all I have prepared. So thank you very much for your time, and have a great time during the other interviews. And I would like to ask you for a few words to our readers, to Polish fans. And you have a lot in Poland because you played at Poland Rock Festival, you played Rokowizna Festival last year. So you can say something to Polish fans of Clawfinger.
Oh, what am I supposed to say? I don't know. Thank you to everyone who has stayed with us for all these years, even though we had a 19-year gap between albums. People have still stayed faithful to Clawfinger, and that honestly really means something. Uh, it also means that we have obviously done something right and made some kind of difference and had some kind of impact. And it's not always easy to realize that from our point of view because we can't be objective. We're kind of stuck in what we're doing. So to get that back from the fans is it really means a lot. And the Polish fans have honestly always been very dedicated. So we thank you all for that. Seriously,
Okay, so again, thank you for your time. Have a good
thank you
evening.
for your time.
Bye.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.